What's up, gamers? Coops here. Welcome to the video. Thanks so much for stopping by the channel. Man, did Arc Raiders do something to me. It's almost like other games are not as fun. I don't know, it's a strange thing. It's one of the reasons that I didn't want to spend too much time with the technical test. I probably spent about 12 to 15 hours with it altogether over the course of, I think it was about 5 days. I could have spent more time with it, but there's a part of me that is like, don't get too attached to these sorts of things because it's going to be gone. You know, all this progress that you're going to make, it's going to be gone. And so it's better not to invest too much, you know, if that makes sense. But man, would have been nice to just spend another hour or two. I'm sure I'm not alone in thinking that. It's not that the other games that we have are bad. They're still really good. They're great games even, you know? They're amazing games. We have tons of amazing games already. But there was just something about this mixture that Arc Raiders is providing that's so special. And I'm going to go ahead and say that I don't think that Arc Raiders is doing anything particularly, you know, groundbreaking. I can't think of like one specific mechanic or, you know, gameplay element that is new and wholly unique to Arc Raiders, if that makes sense. And that's really saying something because it means that everything else is just coming together so perfectly and clicking together, and it's so well made and well designed that we just finally have a game that feels like a next generational title, in my opinion. When I think about the gaming experiences that I've had since I've gotten my PlayStation 5, I have to say that there aren't very many that really stand apart from those that I had when I had my PlayStation 4. You know, I was playing Hunt Showdown, I was playing DayZ, and those were two games that really kind of pushed the bounds of PvE, PvP, blending together, the use of, you know, open communication, and there's like a random spontaneity to these sort of games that you don't really get from some of the games that we had, you know, in the previous console generations. A lot of times we didn't have this blend of PvE and PvP. It was one or the other. But now this is blended so well. This experience comes together so well. And I do think that the third-person camera lends a lot to it because I think that the game is just very immersive. You feel like you're there, like you're a part of it, and everything is happening around you. And you can kind of put yourself in the shoes of this character, and I think that that's really cool. It's almost like the veil has been lifted for us gamers. we now have eyes. We have, if you're a fan of Bloodborne, we have insight, and now that we have insight, it's hard to go back to, you know, go back to things with the knowledge that we have now. And so what we have after that long rambling intro, what we have here today is my 0 to hero runs from the tech test. I spent about I'd say a good 4 or 5 hours of my time, so maybe like a third of it was spent doing these 0 to hero runs where I would go in with absolutely nothing on me. The only thing I would take with me is a Raider Hatch key. And taking the Raider Hatch key in my safe pocket allowed me to have like a nice range of decision making when it came to my extraction. If things went well, then I knew that I had this key in my pocket that would allow me to get out with very little resistance. But if it wasn't, you know, a particularly amazing raid, then I could just try to take the elevator exit. And I think that that was really nice. I preferred going in with no loadout and having safe pockets over going in with like a free loadout. And even though there's no investment there because all the gear that you have was free, you don't have those safe pockets, so you can't guarantee progression in your quests and in your overall progression of your like your crafting benches. There's Scrappy, and then there's the different traders that are giving you quests. Because I had a save pocket, it felt like pretty much every time I went out on a raid, I was at least making some sort of progress, and that felt really nice. And as a solo player, this was such a rewarding experience for solo raider. And I think that that's, again, one of those things that is sometimes overlooked. Like, a lot of people might see this game and they'll see, oh, it's 3-person, and you're in a squad, and you're going out and you're kind of gathering loot. Oh, it's very kind of battle royale in that sense. But when you're going as a solo, it's like, it's very different. Like, you can kind of feel, sure, some of those battle royale vibes sometimes, but the difference being that you don't have to engage with anybody if you don't want to. Like, you could be a very successful solo raider and never fire your weapon, never get into a single gunfight. And I think that that's a really cool part of what's going to make this game special, is that even for people who don't really love the PvP and the combat, they can use their communication and they can try to talk their way out of things. They can run, they can use some of the tools like smoke grenades and things like that. And with their game sense as a player and their map knowledge, different things like that, I think that you could have a lot of fun and a really immersive experience doing like a pacifist run sort of a thing, or really kind of getting into the role-playing aspect of being a raider, what it is to be a raider and going topside. Like, the whole fact that we don't kill each other, we just knock each other out, like that in itself lends so much to this sort of like immersive role-playing sort of vibes, and I think that that's really kind of nice and special too. This was a pretty successful run for the most part, but it didn't go our way. We stumbled upon somebody who had been downed. We took their gear, we got into a gunfight, we downed a raider ourselves, found ourselves getting ambushed a little bit, and then we phased right through a wall. I kind of went over that in my last video, so I didn't spend too much time on it here, but we kind of walked right through a wall there, and that was a little bit unfortunate. That was one of two really kind of bummer moments for me throughout this experience. This is the second one. What happens here, these don't happen very often, but when they do, they really kind of like, it's kind of like a punch in the gut, because you're not expecting it to happen. So that's one of the things that I think people should be prepared for. So we hop into the elevator right in the nick of time, but we don't get returning to Speranza. We get knocked out by El Dente. Somehow something happened there. I don't know if it's, disconnect on the server. I'm guessing that what probably happened is I got like smashed in the elevator as it was closing, would be my best guess. But on my side, I thought we should have extracted safely. We clearly didn't, so that was a bummer. Those sorts of things are going to happen, but we just got to kind of, take it for what it is. This was a tech test, and we move on. Here we're going to try to ambush this guy. I think that the melee weapon is really kind of nice. It feels like it hits hard, and I can appreciate that. There's two different attacks, so you have your nice, quick, left to right. I'm playing on console, so I've got, for the right trigger, I'm doing that kind of sweeping attack, but we also have the left trigger, which does this kind of like an overhead slam. So you have two different attacks that you can do, and it's one of those things that I want to kind of get more comfortable with, and that'll happen obviously over time with the full release. Here I'm learning that if I want to try to take somebody down with my melee weapon, I gotta kind of stop swinging and sprint to close the distance and then start swinging again. I'm not gonna get anywhere just flailing like that. But this was all a really great learning experience, and I think one of the things that I loved about going in with this zero to hero mentality, going in with absolutely no gear, is that I had nothing to lose, and it helps kind of free up some of that anxiety that you kind of feel as a solo raider. I mean, when you're in there by yourself, it's tense, and sometimes you might not be super confident in your abilities, to get into a gunfight. And then you have, on top of that, you have all this loot that you've just, spent time gathering, and you want to get out of there with it. So gear fear can be very real for people. And I think that this is one of the ways to help, at least for myself, to help get over that sort of gear fear, is to just go in, guns blazing with nothing, try to get into some engagements, try to have some, some opportunities to learn how to use these different weapons so that you can be capable, and then learn from the experience. Here, if I had gone right and gone down that stairwell, I think I might have survived, because there's kind of this pillar there for cover. I could have slid to get some speed, but, hey, we live and we learn. I took somebody out with a shotgun that I picked up that round, and just, completely changed the experience for me. I think another thing is one of the things that I've learned from playing DayZ. If you've never played DayZ, huge open world with up to, sometimes like up to, well, on console at least, up to like 60 people on a server. I'm sure that you can get more on PC, but there's zombies running around, and you're trying to find loot so that you can survive, but there's also other players running around, and they, if they see you, they might try to kill you, they might try to talk to you, they might be friendly. But one of the things that is commonly said is no mic, no life. And that kind of rings true in a lot of these sort of PvE, VP games. Because if you don't have any means to communicate with somebody, it's hard to trust you. And so communication, sometimes you do what you can. But one of the things I noticed is that I wasn't able to communicate in the same sort of way that this guy was. They were saying, hey, don't shoot, we want to team up. And I think they were even like doing a dance emote. And I really wasn't able to access those same voice lines for some reason. And so he probably thought I was a little bit sketchy. He turned on me. I can't even be mad at anybody but myself, because you know what? I should have taken him down when I had the chance. This is going to be the last raid for us. And speaking frankly, they haven't gone too well for us. They haven't gone too well for us so far. But like I mentioned, having that safe pocket always felt like I was making some sort of small step forward in progression. So that was nice. But man, it would be nice to get out of here. And you know what, gamers? That actually seems like a really good place for me to leave you. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch you topside. I have been and always will be Koobs. Peace and love, gamers.
Your call is received. Check it. Okay. Stand by.